Hello, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Redefining Healthcare Product Development, How AI Agents Are Driving Smarter, Safer, and Faster Innovation, presented by CitiusTech and Fierce Healthcare. I'm Andrea Anderson, and I'm hosting this webinar. Before we get started, here are a few housekeeping notes. Additional resources are available in the handouts window. If you close one of the windows and need to reopen, click the name in the top navigation bar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand within 24 hours. To learn more about our speakers, head on over to the speaker bio window. And finally, time permitting, there will be a Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions for our speakers, you can enter them anytime in the Submit Questions window. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. Tej Daruwalla, VP, Enterprise Data Platform and AI, enGen subsidiary of Highmark Health. We also have Ramakrishnan, Jonnagadla, aka Ramki, CTO, AI and Engineering at CitiusTech, and Arpit Chandra, Senior Healthcare Consultant at CitiusTech. All right, Arpit, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Andrea, for the introductions. And welcome again, Ramki and Tej. Thank you for joining us, and very excited to have this discussion with you today. So I will quickly go over the agenda. We'll have, so the topic is agentic AI in healthcare product development. So we will dive deeper into what's happening in this area, how all of these AI technologies are coming in and impacting healthcare product development. We will have Ramki set context, talk through the shift that is happening right now. Then we will have a discussion with our panelists on the future of product innovation. We will ask questions, get answers, and thoughts and opinions on how AI agents are impacting product development lifecycle, and what changes are happening, why in terms of resources, not only in terms of lifecycle, but also in terms of resources and skill sets and all of that. And then finally, we'll have closing remarks. I hope that's okay. So before I ask Ramki to talk about this shift, I want to talk about, like, in healthcare industry, there are a wide range of products that are there, from care management applications to claims adjudication systems, to members and provider portals, and each of them come with their own set of challenges. Each of them have a unique workflow that they are supposed to serve, and then they also have compliance requirements that are there to cater to. And recently, all these AI agents and coding assistants, co-pilots are coming up. So we have healthcare product team trying out these new technologies. And then there is an additional layer of complexity that is added on top of all the workflow challenges and the compliance requirements. So at this point, I would like to ask Ramki, like, what is this shift happening, and help us decode some of these technologies for us and set the context before we go into the discussion. Over to you, Ramki.
Thank you so much, Arpit and team, and Andrea for a wonderful introduction. I'm so glad to be here, right? Let me start with sharing my wishes for a wonderful Christmas and New Year in advance to my fellow panelists, our teams, and especially for all of those who have tuned in to listen today. Arpit, that's a good question, right? We have seen a phenomenal agentic sprint, if we can say that, in the year of 2025. We have seen the frontier models conquering the token window limitations, agentic workflows that can execute 3 hours without human intervention, and models being graduated to PhD levels from the earlier high schooler levels, MCPs opening up new integration possibilities and amazing developments around the context engineering themselves, and the list goes on. And it's clear that the times ahead are going to be even more exciting. Running this sprint has also helped us visualizing and learning some of the new perspective on AI, emerging agentic intelligence, and how do we handle them in terms of an enterprise context. Especially if we look through the lens of an ROI on investments done so far, we can see a new evolving paradigm shift, or we can also say it's some sort of a paradox as well. See, what has happened in the last couple of years is that we have built these models and we have built systems around them to make them work. So the new evolving models ecosystem mostly nullifies the efforts that we have spent on building complex structures earlier. So let me explain a little bit. For example, teams that build complex orchestration layers for GPT-4 found them unnecessary with the advent of GPT-5. And the multi-step reasoning chains designed for Claude 3, right, became single prompts with Claude 4. And there are many more such scenarios. So it's very curious to understand what exactly is happening. Essentially, the structures that were added around the limitations of the models about 6 months back are becoming the limitations themselves. And the pace of this transformation is just astonishing. And we can expect this pattern to repeat in the future as well. We might spend months of efforts in building a complex multi-agent ecosystem only to find that a newer model can handle the same work in a single call. The distributed system we worked so hard to build becomes an unnecessary overhead now. So that's the paradigm shift that we are seeing in the industry. So what do we do to tackle these unprecedented, probably unforeseen risks, as we can call them? I think we need every organization to become extremely disciplined and address every aspect around their AI journey in a holistic manner. From where I see a great first step, as you can see in this slide as well, is in the direction is to become aware as an organization. For example, how do we move from an AI assistance to AI autonomy? This enterprise awareness about co-pilots can actually give suggestions, but with agentic AI, they can plan, they can execute, they can optimize, they can tasks across the entire life cycle can be performed seamlessly. So this statement itself may look pretty trivial, but the leap of autonomy in reality means building an enterprise context ecosystem, curating it, managing it, and disseminating the right chunk of the information to the right agent at the right moment. And that's a tremendous task to be achieved. Second aspect that I would highlight is that we are also seeing the PDLC, the product development lifecycle, or the SDLC themselves are transforming. Instead of humans driving every workflow, context-aware agents can handle design, testing, deployment, even maintenance. So how do we use them wisely in an enterprise context? That's a critical question to be answered. The third element, I would say the skills are evolving very rapidly. We have to move from prompt engineering to agent orchestration, where developers supervise multi-agent systems instead of writing every line of code. And as we know, traditionally, this development community, they are not encoded for supervising activities. They simply are not built that way. So fourth element that I would highlight is that the talent pyramid itself is shifting today. We are looking at a future where fewer of lower level coders are needed in an enterprise, more of AI supervisors, AI architects, and domain experts to form the core of the team that will shift the AI transformation. So as an enterprise, how does it impact the team dynamics? That's a very critical question to be answered as well. And next part is that the commercial models that are changing, right? From traditional cost structures based on which we used to do all our estimates, how do we deliver our programs to our clients? They are actually rapidly transforming towards paper agent task and outcome-based pricing. And finally, while co-pilots are very easy to adopt, agentic AI brings in far greater impact to entire enterprise, provided we have a very strong context platforms, governance, and trust frameworks put in place to handle it. So with that being said, Arpit, if we can move into the next slide, I just want to put a framework in our mental model, which we can consider. Let me quickly spend a minute on the evolution framework that we have created and are tuning based on our experience. Based on the readiness, every organization can fit into one of these levels as the starting grid. For example, heavily regulated, audit-driven process flows and business flows that are rigid and repeatable position such an organization at the deterministic end, which is level 1. And probably the start of the AI journey commences for such organization with simple prompt-driven assistance in conjunction with smarter models, delivering basic code suggestions, guided health through enterprise standards and guidelines. At level 2, as we progress, it introduces a lot of task automation, where repetitive work such as documentation, test generation, or refactoring can be handled by very simple AI routines. And at level 3 is where the agentic work starts coming in, right? Agent-based workflows emerge, but with a strong human oversight. Agents can execute tasks while humans have to validate and steer the entire execution. I would say a lot of organizations today, as we close the year of 2025, have reached the level 2 and level 3 statuses very comfortably. And some of them are actually elaborating into level 4. Level 4 actually moves us into multi-agent orchestration, which is a bit complex to establish and to execute, where the context-aware agents can collaborate, understand dependencies across PDLCs, elevate the decision-making process itself. And level 5 represents full autonomy. Autonomous engineering parts capable of handling end-to-end design, build, test, release with human supervising outcomes, not every step of it though. So that I think some more maturity needs to be achieved to reach that level. This staged progression, the way it is provided, is actually intentional. It ensures risk-managed adoption, moving from deterministic to probabilistic AI in a safe manner. It enables skill revolution, shifting talent from coding to AI orchestration and governance. It also delivers scalable impact, with each level compounding productivity and innovation. And this also helps us to keep the governance built in at every phase, using human in the loop and contextual platforms that maintain compliance, quality, and trust at every step. So with that probably longish stage setting, Arpit, let me hand it over back to you so that we can continue with the discussion.
Thanks, Ramki. Thanks for a very detailed and nuanced perspective on AI agents and how at different levels an enterprise can see itself and position itself and then go from there. So I'll stop sharing and we will go into the second part of our webinar. And with that, I would like to just take a step back and bring in Tej's perspective as well. So Tej, I know you are driving a lot of this transformation at your organization as well. So for a technology transformation leader in a typical healthcare organization who is focused on building products, right? There is, of course, there is an investment is the first step where you convince your business and product stakeholders to bring in investment. So how does an IT leader like you justify investments in AI-powered engineering and agentic engineering? And what value do you see for product from a business and a product standpoint?
No, thank you for that question. I would say that we started on this journey a little more than a year ago. And even though there is a lot more awareness related to AI and engineering and use of AI and Gen AI and engineering, it was not that easy, I would say, about a year and a half ago. That itself shows you the pace at which this technology is changing and evolving a little bit to what Ramki said as well. When we started on this journey, there was just a lot of noise in the market. People either had one extreme view, which is AI is gonna obsolete all developers, or it's a fad and it's really gonna go away. And in order for us to really justify the investments, we took a very pragmatic approach for us to be able to do that. The way we did was we started a pilot. And a pilot not just based off of maybe some articles that you're reading or market research, but truly running a pilot at enGen with enGen resources. We got together a small set of Scrum teams, like 2 to 3 Scrum teams. We brought in multiple code assist type tools within our environment. And we ran a pilot over 2 to 3 sprints. The idea of the pilot was firstly for us to truly see what these tools can offer, demystify between the hype in the market versus what the actual reality was on the ground, but also get a buy-in from our own resources, from our own developers, and from our own leadership team. The way we ran this pilot, we also did a lot of before and after measurements and metrics that we collected out of the pilot. We heard from our developers, hey, before I using these tools, this used to take me, let's say, 8 hours to complete a task, and now it takes me an hour to complete the task. And throughout that process, we made sure that we were meeting with our senior leadership team. We were providing them updates on how the pilot was going, and we were able to bring back the value that the pilot was creating. And this wasn't just coming from a consultant coming into the organization. This was actually coming from our own employees at enGen, who were now excited about these new technologies, as well as understood the power of what AI was bringing to our engineering lifecycle. And at the end of that pilot, we created a business case that showed the value, the ROI, the before and the after picture. We had both qualitative survey results that came back from our developers. We also had quantitative before and after change in velocity, hours, cost, etc., that we were able to bring back. And as part of that pilot, we were truly able to show the ROI. We were not only showing increased efficiency and the productivity gains that was being reported by our developers, but we were also seeing the reduction in cost and the improved time to market of new capability development. We were able to showcase the quality of the code as we were catching a lot of the security vulnerabilities through the code review processes. We were starting to do automated testing, reducing the time and improving the quality of our test cases. So those things allowed us to really, it became a no-brainer. By the end of the pilot, it was like the ROI was so large as compared to the cost or the investment that we were asking for, that it made it really easy for us to not only show business, the reduction in cost and improved time to market, but also to the IT leaders to be able to show the quality of the code we were generating, how much effort something was taking to generate, and how we were able to automate a lot of the mundane tasks that the developers used to be able to have to do in the past, right? So I can tell you we took a very pragmatic approach, but by the end of the pilot, it just became the ROI compared to the investment was so high that it wasn't even a discussion in terms of whether we should invest and make this investment into AI. In addition to that, the market and the technology is really rapidly improving and increasing. So the combination of what you hear from the market, as well as the combination of what we were able to showcase and prove out at enGen, was just tremendous. So by the end of that, we were able to both showcase the business as well as the product capabilities that allowed us to really make it a no-brainer for leaders to invest in AI for engineering.
Got it. Thanks, Tej. And yeah, I believe that gives us some of the metrics that enterprises can focus on while experimenting with these technologies. So with that, I would like to move to our next question, which is, So now that that path is crossed and that barrier is crossed, what changes do you see in the product teams and in the product life cycle, and how has it been different, as compared to the traditional way of working?
Yeah.
And yeah, once you share your opinion, I would like to have Ramki pitch in as well for his point of view as well.
Yeah. I would say that enGen today, AI assisted as an organization, looks very different from where we were about a year or so ago. Like when I look back and think about, okay, what is AI and how can we use it? Maybe it'll help us with some, help us fill out the code as I start typing and it'll autocomplete, to what we're talking today with AI and automation and orchestrating workflows. We've just come a long way. And so has and thanks to how fast this technology has improved as well. The big changes we saw, I think overall, it took a little bit of time, but I would say the mindset shift. That has been a major change within the organization. It went from people thinking, hey, some of them maybe even fearing how AI could impact their jobs, etc., to really being creative. And I've seen such creative uses of AI in our engineering life cycle now, even the use cases that we had never thought of. The teams are excited. We have office hours. The teams come in and present how creatively they're using AI and Gen AI tools to improve, whether it's the development activities or it's the testing or requirements, etc. So that has been a great thing to see, how people have just shifted from either fearing AI to now adopting AI and really having an AI first mindset. So when I talk to the team, there's a difference between I'm assisted by AI to I'm in an AI first mindset, right? So our goal is to get to a point where every task starts with AI. We're looking to say, with an AI first mindset, it's like when you sit down, the first thing you think about is, how am I going to do this task with AI? That's been a big part of what we've done. We've also made some really great investments and continue to make investments. We all understand how important data is for AI, right? Without proper data, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. Whether it's your machine learning models or your agents, they're just not going to perform at the right level and the right level of accuracy. So we're starting to make a lot of investments in making sure the completeness of our data, the accuracy and the quality of our data, streamlining our data pipelines to make sure that the data is available for AI models. Going back to the workforce itself, you should see the enthusiasm within enGen and Highmark on adopting AI. People have gone out. We make multiple trainings available to them, but in addition to that, people are really taking it upon themselves, learning and educating themselves on AI and continuous use of AI, and rapidly upskilling and volunteering their time. I get approached on daily basis, hey, how can I help with AI? And we have a lot of people who are going above and beyond to become part of AI, adopt more AI within their day-to-day cycles as well. And like I mentioned, the organization itself is pivoting to invest a lot in AI. Those are the AI platforms, our agent development platforms. We're continuing to scale our cloud with our hyperscalers to really provide the infrastructure for every team at enGen to be utilizing AI, to be working, to be assisted, to be automated utilizing AI. And I know Ramki mentioned quite a bit of this earlier, so I want to stress that point. That is our vision as well, 2026 and beyond. I would say based on what Ramki highlighted, we're probably at that level 3, where all developers are now assisted by AI, we're creatively using AI. And really the next goal here is what you see on the slide, which is an orchestration of a friction-free product engineering lifecycle that is automated utilizing AI and agentic AI. That's our next, I would say, on the horizon is what we're going to start to work towards, which will drastically transform enGen and enGen's engineering practices, where more of our people are now elevated to be creators, to be, have that creativity outlets. And really a lot of the mundane work has been automated through agentic workflows. That's our vision and strategy for 2026 and beyond.
Correct.
So if I may add, Arpit, to what Tej was saying, Tej, thanks for sharing that experience, because what it shows us is that our journey, right, CitiusTech's journey has been a little bit different to what you have explained, in the sense that while operating under a single AI strategy across enterprise, how exactly that transforms the entire organizations together, that came out really very well in your articulation. CitiusTech, as you know, is working with multiple clients, and different clients are in different stages of their evolution and the AI journey, which means we need to figure out a way of balancing this technology rapid acceleration that is happening and being adopted by a set of matured clients like enGen and Highmark and so on and so forth. And then there are customers who are extremely cautious when it comes to this change management or embarking journey in this change management. So from that perspective, I would like to share a couple of different scenarios of how we have evolved internally as an organization within CitiusTech. So the first set of things that I would say is that this is like early 23-24 timeframes, where we have been working more in an LLM world, not so much in the agentic AI world. The initial euphoria is all about generating code with LLMs. A lot of developers actually felt their instant high, around the number of lines of code that they can generate in minutes, and how beautifully it is written, how the architectural fundamental patterns are being followed, so on and so forth. And they did it by creating elaborate prompts, or specs as we call them, and relied on the AI tools intelligence to build their code end to end, right? However, this magical excitement of doing the intellectual heavy lifting and then relying on AI to do the mundane task of coding, this per se has plateaued very fast. The developers encountered a lot of challenges during integration. Ability to debug first, that became a bigger challenge, for which they went to the AI tools again. It's a vicious cycle. After a couple of cycles, the realization settled around that fact that the time saved in coding by using AI tools is still lost in other SDLC rituals that we have to follow, and the other phases became much more harder to push through or to accelerate. So this is one set of initial experiences our teams went through. And then happens in the recent past 6-7 months, with the promise and power of the new breed of agentic tools like Cursor, Devin, Windsurf, GitHub Copilot becoming extremely matured, the product development community, the development community itself, tried the autonomous way of building and maintaining the software with the least or zero human intervention. Basically, the life cycle steps are all performed by agentic systems, and the end outputs are directly generated by the systems. Now, these experiments actually were proven to be costlier, and they are seldom generated production grade outputs. Let me put it that way. More importantly, the community itself, the development community itself, I would say lacked in its explainability quotient, and the developers never really connected with their own code. The code is basically checked in their name, but when it comes to explainability, when it comes to the ability to debug, when it comes to their ability to make the code work in a true blue production environment, there are a lot of instances where the team started feeling that, okay, we are accumulating some form of technology debt. and we are not the owners, actual owners of that. So that realization, so this happened in the last few weeks, a few months, and in retrospection, exercises was conducted, obviously, and again, such experiences gave us the clarity that for the current day modern agentic AI systems to actually work, the context management is the most vital ingredient. And we defined context as a compound artifact. It is not just a single thing, beyond the prompts themselves. Context actually includes the most relevant domain inference that is needed. That intelligence is absolutely critical. Existing project or code understanding, that's the second thing. The rules to follow, the guardrails to be deployed, policy driven gating processes that we need to provide for, regulatory compliance enforcements, persona based inferences and retrieval mechanisms, and more so. The other part that we have also figured out is that the persona orientation, the stakeholder persona orientation in the entire product development lifecycle or modernization lifecycle or anything that you say is so critical that we need to retain that persona orientation even with the in an agentic ecosystem, which means our direction submission finally is that every organization needs an AI fabric or a platform that connects the knowledge, data, intelligence at an enterprise scale. No, we need to connect all these things together and have complete control on the same, which means the platform has to be something that's owned by the respective enterprises, and they actually provide a layer of abstraction for the actual user communities from all the things that is happening in the agentic agentic AI evolution side of the story. So that's been our experience. Persona oriented workbenches are an outcome of that, and we had several great things happening. We ran, I don't know, some 10-12 hackathons specifically focusing on solving for different problem statements. We have solved for modernization workflows. We have solved for regulatory document compliance workflows, and we have solved for domain centric problems that have not been attempted previously or that have been taking a lot of cycles for respective stakeholders, the medical coders, and so on and so forth. And we have tried to solve for this MCP integration, which is a great thing that has happened in the last year. And how efficiently can we start interacting with the actual healthcare systems that are at play in production? And how can we have tried to solve for the data silos, which Tej was mentioning, right? The data curation, the data readiness, the data preparation for an agentic AI ecosystem is fundamentally critical. And we are still a long way to go in that aspect as well. But these are the interesting parts. We are in hackathons, we are in codathons, we have created large libraries of reusable assets, prompts, agents, agentic workflows. These are all available for us to use, and our teams are actually extremely focused today. And that's something. Skills is the next thing that we talked about. Skill wise also, they have to expand themselves very differently from what they have traditionally done. So those has been some of the learnings that we have within CitiusTech environment. Arpit.
Sure. So yeah, I think context, memory, right, policies, guardrails. So with all of these aspects coming in, and I think from like you mentioned, from developer euphoria to realization. So what barriers, Tej, I would like to hear from you. Do you see in the next 12 to 24 months with this thing evolving, right? And like new technologies hitting every month. How do you see, what are your top 3 to 5 barriers do you see in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, and I think it's especially the issues are compounded because of the industry we're in, right? Healthcare is a heavily regulated, for the right reasons, industry, and there's a lot of compliance related rules that need to be met, or the business risks are pretty high. So keeping all those things in mind, I do think the speed of progression in healthcare is going to be a little bit slower than if we were, let's say, a startup having a new idea and wanting to build something from scratch today. So I definitely think within the healthcare space, there are significant hurdles that we will have to overcome if we want to achieve that agentic orchestrated workflows that we're talking about, right? One of the big hurdles is data, and will continue to be a challenge for every organization. Not just the availability of data, the quality of the data, the completeness of the data, but also the governance of the data, right? We have a lot of partners that we work with that continue to say, hey, we can provide this AI capability, that AI capability, you just have to give us your member data. Okay. There are a lot of rules and compliance and regulations that go around our ability to share that data with anyone. Or how we internally can use that data for AI purposes as well. So I think the availability of the data, but also the governance and the quality of the data is going to continue to be a major thing that we'll need to overcome and continue to work towards. And then really making sure, especially in healthcare space, is making sure that anything we're doing with AI is transparent. People want to know how the decisions are being made. The trust factor is a big component in the healthcare space. Members are not going to trust decisions made through AI, right? So even if we're building these systems, software products that are going to have AI, we just have to be very responsible, ethical in how AI is embedded, not just in capabilities we develop, but also using AI to develop those capabilities within our engineering space. So making sure things are HIPAA compliance, there is state regulations that we need to continue to work towards, where each state has a different compliance rules that we have to meet. The other big thing is going to be the race for skill sets and these resources, right? We're already starting to see that in the market, where there is a massive race to go get the best and the brightest in the AI space, and with the large paychecks coming along with that, if you read the news, to really get the best of the talent on the teams, which is becoming an issue as these major companies are starting to take on a lot of that talent for other organizations. How do you attract the right talent, whether that's machine learning engineers, whether that's AI developers, data scientists? There is just going to be a massive need to continue to build out that skill sets and hire people with the right skill sets, which is going to create some scarcity in the market as everybody tries to do that work. And I think the other thing I would say is, as these systems are being built, there are proven technologies and tools in the market to govern, monitor, scale existing systems, right? But there aren't that many available to scale AI tools and systems. So how do we make sure the right level of observability is going to be in place, especially as we build more and more agents in production? We're going to need to make some major investments in making sure our platforms are scalable, they're reliable, the uptime is there, the availability is there, they are being monitored at the same level as our existing systems that exist. And there's not a whole lot of tools available to do all that today. It's still up and coming in the market. Companies are coming out with their own proprietary tools for observability and optimization. But I do expect that for us to be able to scale these systems, that is going to be a barrier, right? How do we scale this out to from 100 users to 1,000 users to 10,000 to 1,000,000 users, and what does the whole observability and maintenance platform and ecosystem around will look like. And I would be remiss if we didn't mention the human factor in there, which even though people are starting to understand AI and understand how important and critical and crucial it is to their jobs or day-to-day work, there is going to be that human factor that's going to continue to be, whether it's resistance or it's cultural or it's organizational changes, getting the buy-in, looking for opportunities for automation through AI. And that would be true no matter what technology comes into picture. Change is hard. We understand that. We need to bring everybody along, but I do think there is going to continue to be this human factor in terms of adoption of the technologies itself, getting past that initial resistance, adopting it, and then optimizing it for the daily use, and the best way to optimize it for daily use. Healthcare is going to have a whole another level of barriers that are going to continue to exist, whether that's more of a trust from member perspective. We've seen quite a few issues where organizations have tried to automate certain things related to denials or approvals of authorizations that have landed them in hot seat with the government and regulatory agencies. So we need to make sure that whatever AI we're implementing, it's transparent, it's bias-free, and it meets all the regulatory compliance, etc. So, and that takes time. So that's why I think in the healthcare space, the barriers are going to continue to be much, much bigger and higher, as opposed to maybe in some of the other industries. And they all can for the right reasons, will ensure that when we make progress with AI, it's more responsible and ethical, and making sure we're not losing members' trust in the process, we're not losing government's trust in our ability to run our business, we're not losing providers and clinicians' trust in what we do. So I do think healthcare is going to have a much, much higher level of hurdles to get over before the AI use becomes more prevalent within our business, within our operations.
Got it. Thanks, Tej. So now we've talked barriers, we've talked what are some of the skill sets that will come in. We have talked some of the what in the past, how it has evolved. And now, if in your perspective, and this is for healthcare product engineering and product management teams who are starting on this journey, what would you say would be top two or top use cases that they can start on, that can be like quick wins if they are starting on this journey for AI powered engineering? And Ramki, I would like to for you to pitch in here as well.
So I can give you my perspective. My advice is going to be if you're just starting your journey, I would keep aside the hype that's there in the market around AI, right? Make it a lot more real for your organization. Start with some of maybe high impact but low complexity items. Like, don't try to tackle claims processing with AI as your first out of the box, to start with as a use case. I would highly recommend looking at day-to-day tasks and seeing how they can be AI assisted. So the way we did it, like I mentioned earlier, through the pilots. The other big thing is going to be, how do you bring everybody along? If you go out and do some AI, build some things, in a vacuum and then try to have everyone use that, it doesn't work in any organization. You need to bring people along. You need to educate on AI, demystify the hype versus the reality, and then really showcase the power that's coming to their palms and fingers and keyboards, right? Through Copilot, look how easy it is to summarize a large document or summarize your emails, or how easy it is to maybe write a use case, taking out some of the mundane work, and really showing how AI can help you be more productive in your day-to-day tasks. The tasks that you do anyways in your daily job, how that could be assisted through it. Hands-on, I've seen where sometimes when you've not done a hands-on exercise, you fear something. The moment we started giving people, walking them through like a hands-on exercise, where they were able to use Copilot for certain things, they were able to use some of the code assist tool, or able to use even through prompting, do some requirements analysis, and all of a sudden it becomes real, and they can see the power that it brings. So I would say, set up maybe a cross-functional team, have the leadership buy-in. That's going to be extremely important, making sure you have your leadership's buy-in. They're there, they're supporting you, they're helping you move the ball forward. But at the same time, you're bringing people along. You're setting up maybe a cross-functional team where the BAs and the developers, so they don't think, hey, this is just a tool for development, it's just a tool for testing, right? You have BAs, you have developers, you have testers, you have your DevSecOps, all these people, along with your product teams, maybe your product management, is coming together and saying, okay, what do we do in an engineering life cycle end to end, and where can we plug in this AI features to be able to automate some of the mundane work, and then iterate through it. Maybe you'll pick one tool, maybe you'll pick 5, because that's kind of what works for your environment. So my big advice would be to make sure you have quick wins, because AI, the technologies in AI is changing so fast. If you come up with a project that's going to take you 2 years to do, and you're going to do it as an ML model today, with the advent of agentic AI, 6 months later, you're looking at a completely different way of doing things. So look for things in smaller chunks, in quick wins that you can prove out and showcase the value, instead of coming up with major capabilities that's going to take you years to build, because you'll end up investing a lot. You will not see the value. The technology is changing so rapidly that those types of projects don't end up creating the right value for the organization. So pick small chunks, work on them, show value, but do not forget the people aspect and the culture aspect of this, bringing your people along, educating them on AI so you can help kind of differentiate the hype versus the reality itself, and make sure change management is a huge part of any AI journey as you work through the organization.
Sure. Thanks for highlighting change management. Yeah, Ramki, a couple of minutes if you can give your perspective as well. Yeah.
Sure. I think Tej has covered it in extensively, very comprehensively. I agree with most of the parameters that she has talked about. Most importantly, I would also reiterate the fact that before embarking into AI journey, or even putting together our first agent in play, the breaking down of our existing problem statement has proven us a lot of benefits, given us a lot of benefits. Understanding the existing workflow, identifying tasks that are truly agentifiable, and then to agentify those tasks, what's the ecosystem needs, right? What is the data source that I should be referring to? What's the guardrail that I should be prepared with? What's the compliance, regulatory compliance check that I have to establish? So this planning exercise at the beginning, breaking out the task, doing the right planning, and then starting creating the agents and testing out them in specific areas has been quite helpful for us in building. The other thing Tej also mentioned, that choose the non-critical parts. Do not go into the core of the business problem statements right up front if you are starting in your agentic AI journey. So choose the non-critical parts, gain confidence on performance of the agentic AI system. The trust factor Tej was earlier mentioning, right? That needs to be built within every stakeholder in the enterprise. It is not just enough that a development community is very convinced with their ability to generate code, right? The product organization needs to be convinced in using agentic tools to keep up the pace of the development community. Similarly, the testers, they have to be equipped and they have to have the same level of trust or better trust on the capabilities of the AI ecosystem. Only then the organization will make a significant step forward. So I agree with a lot of the pointers that Tej just mentioned, but the problem statement, I think, focus on breaking down, spec it out upfront, make sure that there is clarity at every stakeholder level, and then start executing the agents. Things will probably fall in place.
Sure.
That's my.
Okay, thanks. So with that, we move to our last question, and so we talked about a lot about in the healthcare industry regulatory controls. We talked about compliances that need to be catered to. There's HIPAA, there's SOC 2, then there are CMS audits that happen. The data sets have to be regulated. There's PHI data. So with that in mind, Ramki, I would like to take this last question, and you may provide your closing remarks as well. So how do we ensure all these AI guardrails are in place while the product teams work on these agentic frameworks, and there is a multitude of technologies that needs to be orchestrated in a product lifecycle workflow from ideation to release to testing and then deployment. So with AI generated code, how do we ensure the right safeguards and guardrails are in place?
Yeah, it's a great question, Arpit. Actually, it's exactly the concern that keeps most of the healthcare CXOs awake in night or days or weeks together. It's such a critical parameter in our industry. And here's the rule that I think we have established within CitiusTech. The rule goes something like this, right? AI generated code without guardrails is a compliance lawsuit waiting to happen. So this is something which we try to tell to every developer as they code, every person who is trying to create a user story, right? Every tester. This is an important statement that we need to remember in our psyche as we do our day-to-day activities. So at CitiusTech, we have architected what we call an healthcare AI native fabric. It's a platform. One can think of it as a safety net woven into every layer of PDLC task or anything, any other engineering task and the process flows that we are trying to automate using AI technologies. So let me break this down practically, right? If you can pull up the slide, Arpit, for reference. First, contextualizing the AI use. That's absolutely critical. This AI platform, whichever it is, it should not generate code, just code. It should understand the healthcare context. What do we exactly mean by that, right? We have codified. It knows HIPAA rules, the CMS coverage policies, X12 standards. These things are actually built into the platform. We preload these into our knowledge graphs. So an agent is not guessing at any given point in time or just purely be dependent on what an LLM can generate. Rather, the agent's output is grounded in the regulatory reality of the problem statement. And we have verified this effectiveness by extending the context window of our platform into other popular agentic tools like Devin AI, and have seen those agents produce more accurate results consistently. So that's an important part, the contextualization of everything that we are going to use. That's an important thing. Second, we have built a governance framework. This governance framework operates like a control tower. Right? Every AI decision that is taken by our agentic ecosystem flows through our quality and trust framework. The quality and trust framework is where we define metrics that actually matter. Is this code that is being generated HIPAA compliant? It's a question that needs to be asked. The code generated needs to be validated. And if there are compliance issues, they need to be fixed then and there. It shouldn't proceed to the next step. Similarly, does it introduce bias in the claims adjudication process, which is a very critical question to be answered as the code is generated or any artifact being generated? Will it pass a CMS audit? There are certain criteria that needs to be met in any output documentation that we are generating. Do we maintain enough audit logs so that at any given point in time, we can proceed, we can show the proof of the decisions that are taken by the agents? So these are all provisioned to us by the quality and trust framework. We benchmark model performances continuously, monitor for drift, evaluate fairness across patient demographies, so on and so forth. And it is not just set and forget, right? It needs to be continuously validated and fine-tuned over a period of time. The third element that I will highlight here is the trust and transparency and accountability, which actually Tej mentioned a lot of times. Every piece of AI generated code gets logged with full chain of thought reasoning. Think of immutable audit trails. We can show auditors exactly why the agent made each of those decisions. And our policy engine uses open policy agent to enforce rules like, no PHI should be there in the logs, or prior auth logic must cite the CMS coverage rules for sure. These kind of checks happen before code and before the code ever reaches the production pipeline. And the fourth element that I would say again is the human-centric oversight. This is absolutely critical in our ecosystem. We have what we call as human-in-the-loop gates built into the platform. High-risk code or artifact, anything that will be touching a patient's safety or claims adjudication requires explicit review by the domain experts. The AI proposes, human dispose. That's the thing, right? And no autonomous deployment for any of the critical parts. These are some of the rules that we have enforced using our platform. And finally, the full AI lifecycle model that needs to be maintained. And it includes from training data selection to model evaluation to production monitoring, tracking for security, privacy, safety, reliability, explainability, bias management at every stage. Our observability stack that we have built in gives us real-time telemetry on the AI behavior itself. If something drifts or degrades, we should know immediately, and there are recommendations that are provided by the engine itself, so that we can act very swiftly and prevent any catastrophic decisions. So to summarize, I think in essence, our submission is that the responsibility and compliance cannot be just bolted on, and they need to be engineered in. The code an agent writes is only as safe as the system that orchestrates it. So the orchestration layer, the AI fabric that we talked about, becomes of paramount importance. Healthcare industry can't afford to just move fast and break things. Our approach should be, how can we ship fast but secure faster? And our approach should ensure that every line of AI generated artifact or code for payer workflows is audit ready by design, meeting HIPAA, SOC 2 compliance and to CMS standards. And this shouldn't be happening just by manual revenue, but by automated measurable governance. And I think, Arpit, these are some of the critical learnings that we wanted to share, at least I had to share for today's discussion. And it's been a wonderful discussion, right? We touched upon all the critical factors that are actually driving our industry and how our industry is adopting AI and agentic AI transformation together. So back to you, Arpit.
Thanks, Ramki. So yeah, we talked about a lot of aspects. I think it definitely helps to demystify different aspects at an enterprise level, whether it is talent, whether it is engineering teams, whether it is business workflows from a claims or a care management perspective, and what the product teams can prioritize. So we have around a minute left. I'm not sure if we will be able to take all of the questions. But yeah, back to you, Andrea, if there are questions, if there is a question that we can take.
So we could do a brief question here. How are the skill sets going to change for the engineers supporting agent-driven healthcare product development?
Ramki, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take. Sure. I think the skill sets we mentioned it a little bit around this in our during our discussions. The skill sets per se are going to transform in very many ways. What can be agentify? What can be handled by the agents and the LLMs? Those are the top-notch skills in the recent past, right? So the coders have to equip themselves into the AI way of thinking. Tej also highlighted about this mind shift uh, that is needed at every layer, every layer of the part teams that we fit in, whether it is right from product manager to a project management, and how architecture is done, and how the coder develops today, and how the tester goes about testing, how the DevSecOps engineer actually sets up the environment, and how the network provisioning happens. Everything is actually getting transformed by this agentic transformation. And good part is that every role is actually has become more productive, and using the AI technology into every role, that becomes the significant supplement that every individual has to invest upon. Just learning Java development is not going to cut the pace, right? It needs to be, how do I create great Java coding using AI skill sets, and that's going to be the future. And everything is going to be extremely fast. The time we are not going to have multi-year projects that are running to see the light at the end of the tunnel. They are going to be extremely quick turnarounds. So that's the future. It is extremely rapid, it is extremely skillful, and it needs a complete transformation in the mindset of how we visualize, how we break down every problem statement.
All right. Well, thank you so much for answering that question. And that is all the time we have for today. So we're sorry we did not have time to take all the questions, but we will do our best to follow up after today's webinar. As a reminder, a recording of this session will be available on demand within 24 hours. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.